I knew it was coming. Yeah, I knew it. But that doesn't make any difference. If somebody told me, dude, I'm about 3 seconds away from stamping you in the jewels with my foot, doesn't mean that it's not going to be painful when he does it, whether I know it's coming or not. And yeah, I am probably exaggerating, but it still bugs me. Okay? Clark and Lois are engaged now. And yeah, I'm probably going to get hate from some of the Clois fans. I am not against Clois. What I am a little bit annoyed with is that, yeah, that this is basically a good chunk of the episode in the beginning parter, and it didn't really flow well with the rest of it. It's really showing that a lot of these stories are not balancing each other out, and, they feel awkward almost when there's so much focus on this one thing, and then we get straight to the VRA, and it's like, wow, they feel like almost totally different types of things. Like, it's like you're watching almost two different shows. You got, the Lois and Clark special, and then you've got Smallville, the beginnings of Superman. This was, for me, a decent episode. There are two main things, one of which I obviously already mentioned, the Clois engagement, which just bugged me. I didn't hate it just bugged me. It's always going to bug me. Because, I'm a diehard comic book fan, and yes, I know it's an adaptation of the Superman origins, so I can live with that. I'm just annoyed with that. But the other thing that ticked me off a little bit was Darkseid's treatment here. Granted, Darkseid did not appear in here, but... Oh, and the third thing I'll get to at the very end. Darkseid apparently has been on Earth before. That's what Carter Hall says. He says that basically Darkseid was behind the Spanish Inquisition and the Third Reich. Do you treat us like idiot Smallville producers? Seriously? Oh yeah, every time that there's been something big and evil in the entire history of the human race, Darkseid had to be behind it. That's just a logical explanation right there. I didn't believe what I was hearing when they said that. Like, seriously. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Darkseid just comes whenever humanity's gonna have something, big and disastrous. He's behind every evil thing that's happened. Darkseid is obviously pure evil. This is ridiculous. This is why every time that something really cool happens with Darkseid, they balance it out with something really stupid about it. That's what I'm hating about Darkseid's treatment this season. Anyway, I've kind of delayed this review a little bit, but let's get into it. Like I said, they start off with Lois and Clark getting engaged, and they have this watchtower engagement party. Do not even get me started on how much I wanted to frigging slap somebody if I had the chance. Or just scream into a pillow at the sight of that. And then they have this bit where, Hawkman and Stargirl are there. And they realize that the VRA is in full effect after Oliver is attacking this mugger, and all the people start, going in on him. And the VRA is basically, okay, there is a curfew now for Metropolis. There's also high security measures. And the government is, pretty much this dictatorship. Ruled by who? I guess Slade Wilson, who, by the way, does not feel like Deathstroke at all. Like, the more I try and look at him, he still looks like an old guy with an eye patch. That's not Deathstroke, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, and, there's this whole, it just feels so stupid. Granted, yes, vigilantes in this superhero world and all that stuff. It's, it's a paranoia, it's a legitimate paranoia, but it's really curfew now. We also have like everybody, like the Daily Planet's got like security measures. Like they have like the X-ray thing or like the whatever the metal detector and stuff like that. It's like, what the heck? Like this is ridiculous. Nobody goes this far unless it's like, no, sorry, nobody goes this far. I'm just pointing that out there. And then there's this whole bit with they're trying to figure out what Slade Wilson's up to, and they have this thing called Icarus, which is apparently his method of getting rid of some of the superheroes. Cat Grant's also in this episode where she's like, "Oh my gosh, Lois is engaged! Oh my gosh!" And yeah, she's pretty ecstatic about it for somebody who kind of hates Lois. And yeah, there's this whole thing where she kind of redefines her beliefs because she realizes Lois pretty much tells her the blur has saved her life. Oh, Emil Hamilton is back in this episode. Basically, anybody who's supporting superheroes is getting taken in for questioning. And the Watchtower has been shut off. They basically decide to all go underground. And I could only hear so much with the audio. It was syncing in and out with this episode when I was watching it. But there was this whole bit with, like I mentioned before, Carter Hall. He was like, what did he say? Oh yeah, he says to like about the Spanish Inquisition and like the Third Reich is just like right now. I've seen this darkness before, and I was just like, you're freaking serious. Like, wow, this is just completely stupid at how they're treating Darkseid right now. This is not how Darkseid is not just some big bad force who's just, like feeding. He's not the devil, people. He's a frigging alien with like a helmet and rules a place called Apocalypse. He's an alien dictator. He is not some big ghostly force that just feeds anger and fear and corruption into people. He's not the friggin' dark side of the Force. And I told you from the beginning, this is what I was worried about with Darkseid. And yeah, I'm pretty ticked off about it. If this is how they're going to treat Darkseid for the rest of the season, you're friggin' right I'm ticked off. Because the guy's awesome. And, like, in comparison to somebody like General Zod or, like, Brainiac, he should be the best Superman villain of all. And he's not. Because he's just a friggin' cloud of birds and all that crap. I know I'm probably going a little too far with this, but I'm serious. I'm ticked off. And there's this whole, like, basically what happens is Lois gets kidnapped by the Slade Wilson guy. Hawkman goes to save her. He ends up getting shanked by the Slade Wilson. And then, yeah, he basically dies, tells Clark, I'm used to dying. So that's where it really didn't have a lot of meaning here, because, if this guy comes back every time that he dies, so I guess, yeah, it's kind of sad, but what are we supposed to feel? He's gonna be back in this universe eventually. And the Slade Wilson dude gets put in the Phantom Zone by Clark. And then, like, the one thing that I really liked about this episode is it really felt like a Justice League episode, because there was a lot of members here. Black Canary was in here a good bit of a minor part, but when they went to bury Carter in Egypt, there was a whole bunch of members there. Some of them were in the background, so I don't know if it was the actual. I very much doubt it was the actual actors playing them, but they had the costumes on, and they're all dressed up in their gear, so it felt like, wow, this is a Justice League funeral. But then there was this one thing, and yeah, I know it's a mid-season hiatus finale, but it's literally it's literally totally out of left field. This white pyramid pops out of the sand. Big bright light. Everybody's knocked unconscious. That's how it ends. What the frig? I'm serious, like, you don't just do that in the last 5 seconds. Just do that. It makes no sense. Friggin', like, I forget what it was that ended one of the I think it was Pandora, where Clark, he comes to the Kandorians or like kneel before him. At least it's like, oh, so now we know where this is sort of going, okay? Or I think it was Bride in season 8. Doomsday takes Chloe away, and we're like, oh, I wonder where this is going. This is like, where did this thing come from? Why are they unconscious? You don't just do that. I'm like, and I'm sorry, like, I know that I'm really harping on this more than I usually do with Smallville, and I sometimes do harp on it pretty heavily. And I know I'm probably going overboard on this episode. But there was a lot of stuff here that just didn't make sense. It was a decent episode for me, but there was stuff when it didn't make sense. It really didn't make any sense. And there was stuff where it's like, you're literally putting this in a script and expecting people to believe it. Like Darkseid's behind the friggin' Third Reich. Or that, like, like, all this stuff with, like, the Clois engagement. Yeah, I understand where you're going with it. It still feels, like, so forced. And I know I'm probably going to get hate from the Clois fans, and I'm sorry if I have offended you. But it's just something that I really think that Smallville has just pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And I'm just really wanting to see something else. I really do. Granted, we did see a good chunk of a lot in here with the Justice Leagues, which I was proud of. But, there's only so much that I could like about this episode.